I'm writing this 3 weeks after our family purchased a little homesteady tract of land with a 2 foot wide creek in southern Wisconsin. It's a rugged land, full of woods, endless possibilities, and this year, plenty of mosquitoes. I've never seen a year with this many mosquitoes, but maybe it's because we have a creek. I should mention that I actually grew up on a dairy farm and spent 20 years following my parents around the woods of our 220 acres. Like many dairy farmers, the goal was to keep the costs low and make that monthly payment on the land so that our family was able to keep the farm. The bank and debt was constantly on our parents' minds, and to do this, they found ways to save money, like having the only heat source being a wood stove. And in doing so, our family would get together and spend a lot of time in the woods, felling trees, stacking endless loads of wood into a wagon that was going to be pulled by a big tractor on the farm, a 1206 International tractor. But needless to say, I spent a lot of time in the woods. But I'm 35 years now. I'm 35 years old now. The last time I milked a cow, other than a visit to the family farm once, was 12 years ago. So I'm a little rusty and out of shape, and remembering how to do everything is not was something that I didn't know whether I knew enough about. So you can imagine how the first day was when we closed on the land. I went out to the land either that day or the day after with my axe that my dad gave me and cut down some trees to make way for an apple orchard. It had been so many years since I worked on a farm that I forgot how much I knew. And then one swing of the axe into the base of the prickly ash, which is an invasive thorny tree that has pricklers on it, and the perfumey bark. Once I smelled that, it brought me right back. It was as if no time had ever passed since the last time I was in the woods. So many times in my childhood, I felt like the woods was the perfect escape from my life. I went there to be quiet and away from civilization. It's like the opposite of how the woods is portrayed as a scary and dark place in the grim fairy tales. For me, it was a place of wonder where you didn't know if you might happen to see a squirrel, a baby fawn, a frog, or maybe even some morel mushrooms. And that was one thing I loved about the land here on the 24.5 acres. It has a feeling of being wild. You go up the logging trail and there's a sandstone bluff that's flat on the top. And you look down and it just feels wild. Yeah, it's only 24 and a half acres and it's not 220 acres like our farm was. But today's economy is different now. And I'm living in a different time with the land prices being what they are. I should be grateful for having the amount of land that we do. And if I didn't live in Wisconsin, I probably wouldn't be able to have that much land. And to tell you how wild this place was, I can say that I'm 35, and the first time I've ever seen a bobcat was a week ago. And it was on the way to this farm. I'm calling it a farm now. I just noticed that. But on the way to this land. The first week we went out there, I was disappointed initially to find that there were some snapping turtles that had moved into the pond because I wanted my kids to be able to play in the little creek. And I don't think they would feel comfortable if there was snapping turtles in it. But my girls found a baby snapping turtle, and they named one of them Oakley. And the stream is only about 2 feet wide, has a gravel bottom. The water's clear, so when you approach the stream, you could see Oakley's little alligator tail swim to the deeper part of the stream near the reed plants because he had been disturbed. And you kind of got used to him being there. Never snapped at anybody or anything. He was always kind of afraid of everybody, and you just kind of got used to seeing him there. And then we had a big storm, and we assumed that it blew Oakley downstream, and truth to be told, I kind of miss him now. It was so much fun to approach the bank and just check in and see how he's doing after you're done working there, and just see what was up. Winston Churchill once said that he had nothing to offer but blood, sweat, and tears. And I think about that line every now and then with this little property. I've never felt connected to a place like I do with that land. Maybe once upon a time I felt connected to the farm I grew up on, but now it doesn't feel like home anymore. This home here, I probably feel connected, so maybe I take part of that statement back. And I wonder if it's because with the land clearing, I've bled so much on it, whether that be smashing my hand, catching my leg on a fence post, or barbed wire I didn't see in the ground, which has happened, or prickly ash that I thought I could move without getting pricked. And in the sweat, it's been a week in the 90s, and I've been out on the land every day since we got it for the last 3 weeks. I should probably start taking some time off on Sundays. Maybe I've been changing with the land because I'm feeling more connected to it. And tears, whereas there haven't been any actual tears yet. I do miss the little turtle, and there's daily fears of thinking, have I got myself into more than I can handle? Do I actually have what it takes to be a farmer and manage a piece of land this size without large equipment? We're doing this with hand tools and a lawnmower and my father-in-law's four-wheeler, which was very nice of him to lend us. Or is it money, where we have some and I wake up and I think about the interest that we owe on the land alone, not counting the principal? But the silver lining in all this is that I'm starting to understand how my parents felt, or must have felt, when they owned the farm. Even though our land mass is 1/10 or even smaller of the size that they have and no animals, you still have to learn how to balance the same hours in the day between family, staying employed, and making progress. And we all feel the financial burden. Sometimes I wonder if we should just sell the land, even though it's only been 3 weeks. The other day I was working out there, and a guy pulled over and asked if the place had sold yet. And he said he'd pay us $10,000 over asking price, and for what we paid. And he hadn't had a chance to make it to the land yet when it was listed. But I already planted 4 apple trees, and currently have a credit card bill for $557.91 for this month's insurance, and a whole new order of more apple, pear, plum, and cherry trees that we have on order. And my wife went out there and mowed the pasture down for hours and moved sticks. We have a perimeter fence partially done in the style of the Yorkshire hedges around part of the orchard, and the skin on my feet are bright red. Well, not as bright anymore, but they're still red in some spots from being soaked in the water and rubbing against my shoes and wet socks from working out there for so long. We worked too hard to sell it now. We can't sell. We haven't had a chance to taste what fresh creekside apples and pears and plums taste like yet, assuming the deer don't destroy our seedlings that are coming in the mail. I'm sorry I don't have a satisfying ending for this story, because I don't know how it ends myself.